Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm ZS Caravallo from ZK Research, and I'm here at Gillette Stadium, home of my hometown New England Patriots, hence I'm wearing some blue and red. Today, I'm here for a press event to actually announce a partnership between NWN and the Kraft Group, and so we're going to talk about that. But first, let's have a bit of intro. I'm with the CIO of Kraft, Michael Israel. What's that job entail? I know the Patriots are the big name, but it's actually a much bigger job than that, right?
Yes, it is. Welcome to Gillette Stadium. So I'm Michael Israel, I'm the CIO of the Kraft Group. The Kraft Group encompasses all of the Kraft operating companies, obviously Gillette Stadium, New England Patriots, New England Revolution, but also International Forest Products, Rand Whitney Containerboard, Rand Whitney Group, Kraft Analytics Group. So not only in the entertainment industry, but paper, recycling, box manufacturing, commodities trading within the paper industry.
That's a big job.
Keeps us busy.
Yeah. And Jim Sullivan, CEO of NWN. Who is NWN, and how long have you been in this role?
So NWN, we're one of the largest service providers in IT in the United States. So we're a little over $1 billion, 5,000 customers, enterprise, SLED areas, and I've been in the role 6 years.
Okay, that's great. And as I said, we're here for a press event. You announced a partnership, a 5-year deal between the two of you. Michael, let's start with you. Well, what's this partnership mean to you? What's it going to bring to you?
Well, what we're looking at here over the next 5 years is a variety of transformative projects at the stadium and within our operating companies. We have a new Patriots training facility currently being built, followed by FIFA next summer, some Wi-Fi upgrades following that. We go through this process and we end with potentially a new stadium up in Everett for the Revolution. Yeah. So there are a variety of very large-scale networking projects that are going to just change the way and continue to change the way we do business here.
Yeah, and what's it mean to you, Jim, to have a partnership with a company like the Kraft Group, an iconic brand certainly in this area, but across the country and really a global one now?
It's an incredible honor. Very grateful. The Kraft Group, one of the greatest brands in the country. New England Patriots, an incredible brand, obviously is a leader there. And as we've built the business, NWN's become a great brand nationally, but also we have all of the now every offering that can kind of help this type of growth. This is like the focus area of our company in terms of this size and scale, and have all the offerings and kind of go end to end to support this growth in the infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a lot of competitors in your space, but and they tend to focus on specialize in certain areas, but you're really a full stack provider, right?
Correct. So we're starting it from either the customer experience or the employee experience, and then bringing all of the infrastructure from laptops to security to the network, everything that's going to give that right experience for a customer, very important to the Kraft Group, or the employees that are working in an organization.
Yeah. Now, Michael, I ran a survey last year, and I asked about 500 CIOs, how important is your networking and IT infrastructure to business operations compared to just 5 years ago? And 86% said significantly more important or more important. And I know within the context of professional sports, but your other businesses, there's not a CIO that would argue that, right? And so talk about the differences that you've seen in the last half decade or so, and the things you're trying to do from a fan experience and an operational perspective, and the role the infrastructure plays today.
Well, there's more and more that relies on the network during an event. From the time, now as an example, from the time you get your tickets, you're downloading, all your tickets are now mobile. Yeah. So you're coming up to the front gate, your tickets are mobile, you need to have Wi-Fi to be able to have an active barcode going. So Wi-Fi needs to be right at the front gate, fast processing time. Coming in, about half of our point of sale terminals are now on Wi-Fi as well, which allows us to be mobile throughout the stadium. But at the same time, there's a lot of other things that we're doing behind the scenes that require that network. Everything from watering the field to monitoring where our folks are on the campus. It's just more and more reliant on that network to be available everywhere.
Yeah, and walk me through, so you mentioned the digital ticketing, but if I'm a fan coming in, what's the tech experience like? Because I think, I spend a lot of time going around these different stadiums looking at the tech, and there's way more than people realize. But even from first entry, the digital ticket's now tied to facial, and so once I come in, what are some of the things I'm going to experience?
Some of the things that are constantly changing, one project we're currently working on, as an example, is the conceptual virtualizing the stadium itself. So how do I get into the stadium? If you're a season ticket holder for the Patriots, you're coming here often enough. You're tailgating, you know where your entrances are, but a lot of our events are unique. Last weekend we had Monster Jam. You have concerts. You have NCAA lacrosse championships coming up. These are people coming to the stadium that historically may not have come in the past. So if they can open up the mobile app, where am I parking? What's the best entrance for me to come in? What food locations are open? Really bringing that app to life so it becomes a part of that dynamic experience, that's critical for us. At the same time, as they embrace the stadium and as they start to walk around, different pieces, whether it's IPTV, whether it's our scoreboards, all of this is running on these same platforms.
Yeah, and how many events do you do here? Because you mentioned, I think we know you've got the 8 football games. Historically, we've had always some playoff games. We've got some preseason games. But you mentioned concerts, Monster Jam. You've got soccer in here now.
We typically have, on average, about 50 major events a year. But the stadium itself is also a mini convention center. It's not a major convention center. Upwards of 300 days a year, the stadium is used for events of all different sizes.
Okay, so that puts a pretty big load on your organization then.
It does.
To make sure things are available. And when you think about your approach to IT, there's various ways to think about it. Some people prefer going with a single vendor, others prefer best of breed. In our discussions, you've always been a best of breed, kind of open platform type of, had that mindset. Why is that?
Well, first, we have such a large and dynamic environment here. At the stadium, as an example, I have 1,800 WAPs just on this campus. We have to be able to service everything in a real-time basis. But
And that being wireless access points.
that's wireless access points, yes. But as we look at protecting the environment, if we were a single vendor, we wouldn't necessarily have the best product available. It's a Kraft organization, it's the Patriots, the NFL, MLS. We often get targeted by security attacks. We need to make sure we have the best potential, the best possible products to support us throughout. Having a vendor like NWN, who's agnostic and has a deep bench, helps us evaluate products, determine which ones are the best fit for us, which ones align with us, and at the same time, ability to help us support.
Yeah, and Jim, more broadly, are the comments from Michael consistent with what you're hearing across your customer base, or similarities, differences?
Absolutely. I think everyone is very driven on the employee experience, particularly with either return to office, right, or the customer experience when you have these surge events when customers are coming in or however you're interacting with customers. Then you have to have starting with that application, but then all of the infrastructure needs to be robust, it needs to be secure, and everything's really tied together. So there could be best of breed technologies, but they're all really with us interwoven into one platform, one solution that's going to be not thinking about everything separately or in a silo, but everything integrated together and then managed by either one team or a collective team with Mike's team and ours.
Yeah, and we saw, when the pandemic came, there was a pretty big upgrade wave of infrastructure, but that was almost 5 years ago.
Yes.
What do you see now from a climate? Are customers now, taking a look at what they have? Obviously, we got AI coming, there's more cloud coming. Is there another modernization effort underway?
The number one thing that we see right now is sort of this workforce modernization. So part of that might be a theme of return to office, but it's really just like you said, there were a lot of endpoints that were put out around the pandemic time. There was a lot of campus infrastructure or network infrastructure put out. And now it's 5 years later, and there's new trends of AI driving demand, customer experience driving demand, and then also, return to office is very real.
Yeah, the other side of that, though, is the complexity. So I had mentioned that I think 86% of CIOs said the infrastructure is more important. Almost the same amount said the infrastructure is more complex compared to just 2 years ago, right? And so you've got this interesting kind of dichotomy of it's more important, but it's more complicated. And I'm assuming a lot of your customers, like Michael, turn to you to help them with that complexity.
Yes, I think Michael mentioned this a little bit. It's customers, employees need to have an incredible experience wherever they are located. So it might be in one parking lot, it might be inside the stadium, it might be in an office, it might be at home. So you have to have a very, complex, robust support system, network system that's going to give those folks the experience no matter where they are and the same type of performance.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, Michael, from your perspective, where if you think maybe a decade ago, the fan experience was confined to in the bowl, right? And then all the concourses became more important because you want to stay caught up. And now you're actually servicing people out in the parking lot because they're all, they're streaming Red Zone maybe before a game, things like that. And if you're not providing that experience than than they have that negative experience that you don't want. Now, you touched on this a little bit in our conversation leading up to this. You talked about all the different initiatives that you have underway, and it's a pretty long list. So without getting into too many secrets about what you're doing, can you just walk through what's on the roadmap for the next 5 years and what the NWN is going to help you with?
Sure. Well, everything we do, you mentioned transformation during the COVID period, et cetera, but everything we do within the Kraft organization from an IT perspective has a dedicated life cycle to it and a defined life cycle. So if we're buying, if we're putting in infrastructure, any type of product, we're reevaluating that over X period of time so that way we can predict capital expenditures and know when things are ready to be replaced. That being said, we're aligned now where, as I mentioned, we have the Patriots training facility, which opens in April of 26, followed by FIFA World Cup coming in right behind that. We then have a natural time for us to reevaluate our current Wi-Fi environment. We're currently on Wi-Fi 6. Do we go to 6E? Do we go to 7? What comes after that?
We might have 8 by then.
We may have 8 by then. So with that comes what makes the most sense for a bowl environment versus an office environment. And we look at those pieces because not only do I have the stadium, but I have 10 manufacturing plants that I have to outfit as well, where I'm dealing with IoT and a variety of other components. Behind that, we have a firewall refresh that will come up in the near future. And then obviously, as I said, we potentially have another stadium coming behind that up in north of Boston.
Yeah. Now, every conversation I have with every IT leader or service provider like yourself always revolves around AI today. And I want to touch on what you guys are doing. But first, from your perspective, Michael, what are the things that you're doing with AI today that you're thinking about doing that you couldn't do before? And I know we had talked about video analytics and things like that, but there's a lot that AI can do for you, right?
Correct. There's we probably have 75 to 100 potential projects currently up on a whiteboard. The question is which ones have ROI, which ones, what's the short-term, medium, long-term, but really looking at everything that AI could potentially do for us, but does it also make sense to do it? The Kraft organization is built around customer service. You don't want to dilute that at the same time. So when you look at, for example, contact centers and having our voice over IP system connected to our Salesforce system, at what point do you let agents, AI-based agents, handle ticket sales, and at what point do you hand that back off to a physical employee? Those are the types of things we analyze. Looking at how we can get real-time data related to our inventory management. Looking at events that are coming up. What did we purchase in the past? What should we be procuring for future events? Balancing that and having AI predict the types of products that we need to purchase, when should they be delivered, how should they be distributed. Looking at how we manage inventory across our enterprise and really taking data that's sitting within our ERP systems already and really looking to optimize it. Those are just a few examples of the things that we're looking at.
Yeah, see, that's the key. Every organization I talked to has so much data, and generally it's going untapped, right? They know they have the data, but they have a hard time understanding the insights between the data. And part of that is that people just can't process that data fast enough, but machines can.
That's true. Yeah. If you look historically, first we had reports, then it was automated reports. How many people actually looked at those reports or knew where to look? Then we moved to dashboarding. Yeah. Green, yellow, red lights, it's telling you something, but so now it's taking that and it's really bringing it fast forwarding right to those stakeholders, or more importantly, able to make decisions on behalf of us if we wanted to.
Yeah. And Jim, there's two angles I want to explore with you with AI. First, what are customers telling you what they want to do with AI? Are they looking at it because in my conversations, you can use it to transform the business, you can use it to save costs. Much of what I hear today is cost savings with an eye towards transformation. And then NWN dubs itself, and I want to get this right, the leading provider of AI-powered technology solution. What does that mean? So start with that and then get into what customers are doing.
So I think AI, machine learning has been around for a long time, right? So for us, generative AI is pretty new, right, for the last few years. So we've really deployed generative AI solutions inside the company. Similar to Mike, we had around 80 projects a couple of years ago. We distilled down into about 6 that we deployed to really drive a greater more productive employee experience and also customer experience where we're co-managing these different types of environments. Then in every offering, like we're focused in 7 focus areas that all kind of tie together of IT infrastructure. All 7 have AI components to them. And then I kind of bring it back to the customer side. Customers are all have multiple projects of where they're saying, okay, where's the ROI? What are we trying to drive? The 2 that we see that are actually being deployed last year, great ROI, is around customer experience, like number 1.
In the contact center.
And contact center with intelligent virtual agents mapped into the data. And the other one would be AI assist. So that could be a bunch of categories. It could be Copilot, right? That seems obvious and getting some traction, but it's probably more importantly things around AI assist around recording meetings and customer service and note taking and getting things that are giving sort of supplemental customer experience for that. Those are the areas that are getting real traction. We did hundreds of deployments on the contact center, AI, intelligent virtual agents last year. And so you're learning a lot. And then people are kind of really understanding you have to get the data right. And once you have the data right, the language models kind of trained up well. So for us, why we say we're the leader in that, we've been doing it for a while, but now really front end of actually working to get the applications there, applications mapped to the language models to ultimately get the outcome you're trying to drive towards it. But some's more real than others in terms of where the real return is and impact is. But customer experience is number 1, and then we'll probably see some of that kind of begin to move into, kind of workforce modernization, because when you drive those types of applications, it's going to really drive more requirements in the network. And so if you have an incredible application and you have great NVIDIA servers all kind of driving everything, but without the right back end to support that with that foundation, you're only going to get so much performance out of the front end.
Yeah, the CX side's interesting because I envision a day when you call a brand and you get a human, you might actually say, I'd rather have a machine, the robot, because it's going to answer things faster, more accurately. Yeah. And I asked a couple of CIOs from banks that, and they both disagreed. And then I said, well, think back to online banking. Everybody said, no one's going to use that. You always prefer to talk to somebody. But if, in general, if the technology can get you answers faster and more accurately, right, that's going to
we're deploying in the last year sites with 40,000 users. So this is really at scale, and they're getting kind of trained up. And I think, say with Mike's organization, the experience starts with before the customer even gets here, right? They're on their phone with all the applications that the Kraft Group's putting out there, and then the faster and more farther you can get into that experience and the data, it's going to be, I think, it's going to keep evolving, but it is dramatically farther than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah. All right. So last question. Let's look into our crystal ball. I'll start with you, Jim. What technology excites you the most? What's coming down the pipe that you think is really going to change the business landscape?
I'm going to go right back to where we just were. I think it's the customer experience piece with real use cases around AI that's really around intelligent virtual agents and driving the front end of the business for a better experience that will drive revenue. I think the number 2 is the automation on the back end, which is going to really drive we've been doing a lot of this, and this will really drive the more efficient businesses, more cost businesses. I think those 2 areas are very real, and I think those are getting some traction now with real use cases and are going to accelerate to be very compelling about how efficient we can be on the back end, but the user experience on the front end and revenue driving opportunities on the front end are beginning to happen. And as customers begin to sort through the multiple projects they want to do into real ROI and real use cases, that's where the action is.
It's connecting the dots so we can see things we couldn't see before. And Michael, you get the last word here.
I think for us, again, back to AI, it's the amount of potential use cases that we're finding and really driving behavioral change in the organization as a result of bringing this data right up to the surface and bringing this information to our leadership teams and saying, hey, we can make changes here that are going to really impact our bottom line.
Yeah, the hard part's knowing what not to do. Right, yeah. Actually, one of your contemporaries, Bill Schlau from the San Francisco Giants, said, it's easier for me to tell you what we're not looking at AI for because it's impacted every part of baseball operations, and I'm sure you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So on behalf of Jim Sullivan from NWN, Michael Israel from the Kraft Group, I'm Zias Caraval from ZK Research, and thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on my next episode. It's ZKast. Thanks, gentlemen.